Here we are, the story I wish I never had to tell, but for some reason, so many of you want to hear. We're going to talk about the theft and recovery of the 1979 Redline MX2. That bike was stolen, yes, 100% stolen, and 100% recovered, which is so rare because so many of us have had bikes stolen just to never see them again. And it took a lot of effort. It took some help. It took a tip from one of my viewers, and it took some, creative investigation to recover the bike. And we're going to get into how I did that. But first, I think it's important that you know a little bit about my background. Not a lot of people know really who I am, what I did before I started building bikes. And it plays into this story. I'm not going to bore you. It's not going to be an about me video. It's going to be about getting this bike back. But in order to know how I did that, I need to share a few things about me and my inner circle. And I think it'll help explain things quite a lot. So let's get into it. Okay, who is Sean? Who's the owner of RADBMX Builds? It's more than just this guy. In 1990, I joined the United States Air Force and became a security policeman. And I did that for about 4 years, active duty with a deployment to the Gulf War. When I decided to go from active duty to guard, I got a job as a marshal in Orange County, California. I did that for a couple years and then transferred over to a police department, and I'm not going to name it, of a large city in Southern California where I became a police officer and eventually a detective and worked plainclothes operations. So, what did I do after that? Well, about September 25th, 2001, 2 weeks after the 9/11 incident, I decided to return to active duty military. I was in the Guard, so it was an easy transfer, and I resigned from the police department and returned to active duty. As soon as I got to my first duty station, I was recruited by the Office of Special Investigations. However, that ended up not working out because of manpower issues, a decision made well above me. But I was given an option, go canine or become a combat weapons instructor. I became a weapons instructor and shortly thereafter went and taught at the Security Forces Academy at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. I did that for 5 years, teaching from day one all the way to graduation day, tactics, patrolling, weapons, you name it, all of the things that new Air Force Security Forces members need to learn. Where did I go from there? And this is why it's still important. We're not done. We're going to get to the bike theft, trust me. But I went to Hawaii after that. From there, I went to my last duty station, Luke Air Force Base in Arizona, where I ran all the law enforcement and security for Luke Air Force Base. I ran the training section and ultimately got hired by the Inspector General's office. Once I became an Inspector General investigator, I was responsible for investigating Air Force units in compliance, and I was also in charge of the annual installation active shooter exercises, which is a Department of Defense requirement. And then in 2018, really 2017, I retired in November of 2017, but my official last day was 1 February 2018. Once I retired, I got into the bikes. So almost a 28-year career in law enforcement and weapons training. And that's how this plays in. Now let's talk about the bike theft. Okay, me, like so many others, have an absolute zero tolerance for thieves. I can't stand them, and I wish terrible things upon them. And sometimes it's my position to do those terrible things. And this time, they stole from me, which is personal. I'm a small business, veteran-owned company. And when you steal from me, you steal from my lifestyle, you steal from my family, you steal from my community. So I'm going to go after you, and I'm going to hunt you, and I'm going to hunt you down, and that's exactly what happened. A great gentleman by the name of Jim that owns Museum Quality Official on Instagram. He's a custom frame company out of California, bought my 1979 Redline MX2. And we're doing a collaboration together. So I boxed that bike up meticulously. And then I added a bunch of stuff into the box for Jim as a gift. A set of original 84 GT Santa Ana pads, a number plate that he was going to frame for me, a bunch of grips, shirts, hats, and other decals, things like that. So the box was packed. I printed the label. I took a photo of it. I sent it to him. I took a picture of the label on the box, like an actual picture of the box. You can kind of see the label, but you can't make it out, and sent that to him. UPS came to the shop, picked up the box, scanned it, and drove away. And I took a video of that. A very well-documented transfer, and it went off without a hitch, like it has hundreds of times before. Hundreds. Since I've been doing this in the last 8-9 years, I've sold hundreds of bikes. You're probably laughing like you never sell bikes. And it kind of looks that way, but I do sell bikes occasionally. But when I put one up, it usually sells immediately. So it just seems like I never have any bikes for sale. That's aside from the point. I checked the tracking and it only showed that a label was created. And I thought that's kind of interesting. Another day goes by and my UPS guy comes by and is like, hey, David, I know him very well because he comes here almost every single day. What happened with that bike? He goes, oh, what do you mean? I said, I saw you scan it, load it, drive away with it, but it shows label created. Where's my bike? He goes, well, when I dropped it off that night, I helped offload my truck to the intake person at the hub. I watched them scan it, put it on the conveyor belt, and that's the last I saw of it. So after about 2 weeks of waiting, which is what you have to do through bike flights, I decided to open an investigation through them, the proper channels. And in turn, they work with UPS, and they have people, liaisons, if you will, that help with that investigation. So they started looking for the box too, wondering if it was in a warehouse. And I made a video about that, and wondering if it was sent somewhere to the wrong place. You have to let this investigation from them roll for about 30 days before making an insurance claim. And a side note, I insure all of my bikes for the sale price of the bike, just in case of something like this. My buyer doesn't get screwed out of the money they spent on it. Now, where I lost money was the other things I put in the box. I didn't account for that on the insurance. For now on, I will if I put other stuff in. But where's the bike? What happened to it after the 30 days? Okay, 30 days is up. I'm now talking to Kent, one of the service claims supervisors at Bike Flights. I'm sorry if I got your title wrong and you watched this, but Nicole, Kent, and basically a team of people at Bike Flights tried really hard to find this bike and cannot do it. UPS came up empty and said, we give up. It's considered a lost package. But Bike Flights is determined to not take that loss, and they started digging really deep. And here's where the story takes a crazy twist. They found out that the bike I sold previously to Jim's Redline was a mongoose that went to a gentleman in Sugar Land, Texas. They found out that that tracking number for that mongoose repopulated somehow and ended up on the label that I put on Jim's Redline. So when that box was scanned, that tracking number sent the Redline to that other gentleman's house in Sugar Land, Texas. So they show that that guy got 2 boxes. Now here's my question. I looked at the dates. He didn't receive the first box, the mongoose, before the second box, the Redline, was scanned. How in the hell can 2 tracking numbers be in the system on 2 separate packages simultaneously? Shouldn't UPS have gotten some sort of error code that is already in process, in transit, and have already been used, that tracking number, so you can't use it again? That's my thought, but only to my surprise, that's not a system they have in place. Happens all the time. So here's a scam. If you sell multiple things to somebody, use the same label over and over with 1 tracking number, and UPS will have no idea. They're that clueless, or they just don't care. So, okay, I have a lead. The guy in Texas that got 2 boxes, the mongoose he purchased and the red line he didn't. Okay, here's where my investigation law enforcement skills start to kick in and I start to get a little upset knowing this gentleman has had the red line for several weeks, never reached out to me because he knows it came from me. He just received another bike from me and the return address, name, and everything is RADBMXBUILDS. So I'm a little mad because I know that he is being devious and receiving that package and never reaching out, meaning probably wants to keep it. And then one of you, my viewer, said, hey, I saw that bike on Facebook Marketplace, but I deleted it, but it was somewhere in the Houston, Sugar Land, Texas area. So the search begins. I start looking on Facebook Marketplace, but there's no sign of it because that post has been taken down. So I have a resource, and I reached out to that resource that is incredibly schooled on computers, technology, and cybersecurity, and they found the original post. There it was, Jim's Redline MX2, and it was posted by a gentleman, and his name came up as the guy that bought the mongoose, guilty. He shows on the Facebook Marketplace post that he sold it for $1,000. Less than half of what that bike sold for to Jim. So now I'm mad that he just dumped it. And as I start to dig on other things that he sold, he also sold the mongoose that I sold him, and it showed for $1,000. About $500 less than what he paid for it only a month prior, meaning he's probably trying to sever all ties, dump all evidence, disassociate, and try not to look guilty. However, the idiot has his name on the Facebook Marketplace post with his Facebook profile. So what do? Go to the profile, start digging. Screenshots, photos, family, friends, employer, cars, anything and everything. I have screenshots. I have his name, his work, his phone number, his address, literally everything. It's everything in my soul and being not to load up, head out, and make a short little road trip, knock on his door and say, surprise. But cooler heads prevail, so I do the right thing. I email him and I let him know, hey, you received one of my boxes. Why don't you go ahead and send the bike back? No reply. Send him another email. Hey, if you don't return the box, I'm going to get law enforcement involved and I'm going to file charges against you. Because in the state of Texas, theft of a $2,500 item is a felony. As soon as I sent that email, I got a text immediately. Meaning he got the other email and just ignored it. The text was pretty much like, yeah, I got the bike. I've already unboxed it, put it together. Something about like, I thought my son would like it. He thought it was for him. I didn't sell it. I only took the post down. It's right here in my garage, but I'm not going to ship it back, even though I would have provided a label and paid for that. He says, come and get it. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay, so I give all this information to Bike Flights. And Bike Flight says, hey, why don't we go ahead and contact law enforcement and file a police report? So I do that. I reach out to the local sheriff's department, talk to a deputy, and I end up getting a case number, which is all I needed, really, because I don't expect them to go knock on this guy's door. They're not going to do it for a bicycle, let's be honest. But that idiot doesn't know that. So I text him back and said, hey, dude, just filed a felony police report against you, and I will pursue charges, and I will work with the district attorney to pursue that you are arrested and held accountable for this, since you've already admitted to having it in your possession. And then everything changed. Everything. Before I took another step, I needed to verify proof that this idiot had the bike and didn't just say he took the ad down, really sold it and is just pulling my chain. So I told him, go out in the garage right now, film a 5-second video of the bike. And he did. He went out there and filmed it, counted to 5 like a 3-year-old, and sent me the video.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Now I have him in possession, confirmed, of the bicycle in question. No problem. So I call Bike Flights, and Bike Flight says, hey, let's see if he'll drop it off at a local bike shop. We have one that we've worked with before that's only 2 miles away. Call the bike shop, see if they'll get it and ship it, and Bike Flights will pay for that label and packing and all the other stuff. I said, great. Called the bike shop with some back and forth. Sugarland Cycle in Sugarland, Texas, or a town right next to it. Sorry, Missouri, Texas. Something like that. Said, yeah, we'll do that. Have them drop it off. So I messaged the guy back and said, hey, will you drop it off at this bike shop? And here's where things got interesting. The whole demeanor changed. The formatting of how they wrote before changed. The intelligence level seemed to go up in the conversation. And then I realized, based on a statement, I'm talking to a different person. Who's this person? I'll give you a hint. It said, we will do whatever it is you need to make this right. He has learned his lesson. I think the wife got involved. I think the wife saw this BS going back and forth and thought, no way is my husband going down for a felony for a bicycle. So I asked her, where's the rest of the stuff that was in the box? The number plate, the pads. The reply was a little vague, but said, it's gone. It's not here. No way to get it back. What was it? How much was it worth? So I gave her a dollar amount. Instantly, she said, can I Venmo you that amount? Said, that'll be interesting. Gave her my Venmo and she paid. Okay, there's another, what do we want to call that? Piece of evidence that they admitted to having and no longer have something that didn't belong to them and belonged to somebody else. So now she's paid me for the other stuff, but we still need to get the bike taken care of. So I said, if you bring it to the bike shop, I will pay you $50 for your time and effort, gas, whatever, and just drop it off to the owner of the bike shop. They replied back, I'm so sorry all this happened. We don't want any money. We don't want anything else to happen. We're just going to drop it off. And they did. They brought it to the bike shop, dropped it off. I called the bike shop, confirmed that they now have the bicycle. Interesting. Okay, I called Jim. Jim, we recovered your bike. Jim, I know who stole it. Jim, your bike is in safe hands. And we're going to do a good look over of the bike to make sure it's still in great condition. If it's not, it'll come to me. I'll fix it, no charge, and I will get it to you. The owner takes a bunch of pictures of the bike and sends them to me, and I determine it looks like it's still in great shape. Doesn't look like he ever wrote it or anything, just basically put it together and then dropped it off. So I say, hey, Jim, the bike shop has agreed to box this thing up. Bike Flights has agreed to recreate a label, and we're going to ship it directly to you. The good news is he's getting the bike. The great news is we're getting so much content with this story. Now the bike comes with a great story. It's going to hang up in his shop. It's not there yet at the time of filming this video. I just spoke to the owner, and he's packing the bike up now, and it will be resolved. But it is in safe hands, in a bike shop's hands, and I do trust them, and much more than I would some D-bag that stole it and was trying to hide it out in Texas. Here's the moral of the story. You don't steal from me. You don't steal from anybody. You shouldn't steal, period. And if you do, you're a D-bag. It's as simple as that. These people are spending their hard-earned money on these bikes. I'm blood, sweat, and tears into building these bikes. And to just rip somebody off like that, I know where you live. I still have photos of you, your family, your car, where you work, addresses, phone numbers, and I'm keeping it. And I will do whatever I want with it. We're going to take the high road. We recovered the bike. Thanks to you. Thanks to whoever gave me that tip about it being on Facebook Marketplace. Thanks to some of those in my close inner circle that have the ability to pull up posts that were once deleted. And thanks to you, the viewers that have sat through this story and thought, wow, it's crazy that a 49-year-old man would steal a bike that didn't belong to them and just try to play it off and sell it. Instead of doing the right thing as a 49-year-old person and be like, oh dang, hey, Sean, I think you messed up and sent this to my house. What would you like me to do with it? Let's just send you a label and just leave it on your porch and UPS will pick it up tomorrow. It would have been that simple. Probably even would have gave him a little bit of money for his time and effort. But now he's a loser and he's lost out in so many ways. Now his wife's pissed, which is probably the worst thing that can happen to him because she knows that she's married to an absolute scumbag. Okay, Jim, your bike's coming, brother. And we're not done with this story yet because when I come out there to California, I would love to come by your shop and see that beautiful bike hanging up in there. And maybe we can film a collaborative video about your experiences with that. Let me insert a little clip of me telling Jim about me finding his bike.
Hey, Sean, what's up?
Hey, Jim, I got some news for you about the Redline you bought. You're not going to believe this.
Whoa. Okay.
Okay, so you know that I mailed you the bike, and inside that box was your 1979 Redline MX2, along with a number plate, some pads, shirts, hats, stickers, a box full of really rad stuff that it never made it to you. Well, I found out where it went. So I opened up an investigation with Bike Flights that worked with UPS, and we found out that somehow, some way, it duplicated a tracking number onto the slip that I put on your box. And they tracked that number back to the location where it went to because I sent a bike to that gentleman previously. So he ended up with 2 bikes, and one of them was yours.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Okay, so that's story time with Sean at RADBMX Builds. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a wild one, and I just had to share it with all of you because I did post that the bike was stolen, and it got a lot of attention. Then I posted a picture of the person that stole it on Instagram, and that went crazy. So I thought it's time to pull it all together and tell everyone how it happened. No, UPS didn't steal it. How that tracking number duplicated and ended up on that label, I have no idea, and I still haven't gotten a good answer. But the end result is we were able to locate it, we were able to negotiate its return, and we were able to get it back. And that's really what matters. So thank you to all of you. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for hating thieves and helping bring them to justice. All of you are absolutely rad. And man, I wouldn't be doing this without you. If you like happy, good ending stories like this, give me a thumbs up. If you want some bike content, interviews, bike shows, builds, etc., give us a subscribe. Thanks again, and as always, stay rad.